Hello and welcome to DeFi Summit's Day 1, where our topic today is it legal? The world of NFT copyright and ownership issues. And I have to say that having gone down the rabbit holes of trying to figure out what is or isn't legal, I feel like we are in privileged, rare air to have the three guests that we have today because of their expertise and what it takes to figure out whether or not what you're doing is above board. If you've considered issuing tokens or NFTs, or if you're seeking to be an educated investor in any of these areas, you've likely gone down rabbit holes that had your head spinning. And we're very privileged to have these experts here to navigate these murky waters. In preparation for this panel, one thing I've learned is that what I'm trying to do in the crypto space with regard to NFTs is definitely going to require at least one, if not all of these three experts. So thank you for joining us all. I'd like to start by introducing each of our guests, the first one being Tonya Evans. And Professor Tonya Evans is a global leader, accomplished academic, and world-renowned speaker with over 20 years of experience in law, innovation, academia, and entrepreneurship. She's a faculty member at Penn State Dickinson Law School, where she teaches emerging technologies from blockchain and cryptocurrency to trusts and estates and entertainment law. As founder of the Advantage Evans Academy, she teaches students how to participate in the new digital cash economy, both safely and confidently. Previously, Evans was Associate Dean of Academic Affairs and professor at the University of New Hampshire School of Law, where she created and directed the school's blockchain, cryptocurrency, and law online professional certificate program. Evans is the chairperson for the MakerDAO Maker Ecosystem Growth Foundation and member of the Bermuda Global FinTech Advisory Board and the Consensus Grants Board, among a plethora of other boards. Welcome, Tonya.
Thank you.
Next up is Harsch Khandelwal. And Harsch is an engineering gold medalist from the University of Waterloo and an Ivy Scholar from the Richard Ivey School of Business. Over the past 20 years, he's built and managed companies in diverse industries, including technology, real estate, and private equity. He currently runs UREEQA, spelled UREEQA, a platform for protecting, managing, and monetizing creative work, where every NFT is backed by a master validated NFT and a robust package of proof. Welcome, Harsch.
Thanks, Ira. Thank you for having me.
And last but certainly not least, I spent a half an hour with Guy prior to this session. Guy is a legal professional and crypto enthusiast. He is passionate about crypto, DeFi, and technologies, and has great experience in supporting NFTs and crypto projects. Well-versed in current legal standing, Guy makes complicated scenarios easy to understand and valuable to businesses. Welcome, Guy.
Thank you, Ira. Thank you for the introduction.
So to frame what I think is the culture of this conversation, the spirit of this conversation, I would like it to be known that we all are both contributing our information and our experience and our perspective, and yet none of us is truly an expert. And is anybody really in this crazy world of cryptocurrency and NFTs? And that's one of the things that I think I would like us all to contribute when it comes to these conversations, is recognizing that when we talk about the legal considerations of any entrepreneurial endeavor in this space, that if your heart is in the right place and you're attempting to do something that is beneficial to the advancement of economies, chances are you're not going to be on the wrong end of the SEC chairman's what do we call it? Shotgun? No, I wouldn't call it that. But let's just say that we're all trying to do something fantastic. So I'd like to just start off with a question for Tonya. And that is, from an intellectual property and IP point of view, what does someone acquire when they actually buy an NFT?
It's an important question, and in order to even answer it, it's taking a slight step back to talk about what intellectual property is. I think there's a lot of misinformation or a lack of understanding about the different types of intellectual property. Property created with the mind is the way that we talk about it, but there are a number of different types. Patent protects inventions, copyright protects literary or artistic works fixed in a tangible medium of expression. I'll say a little more about that in a minute. We have trademark that protects a word, a phrase, a symbol, a logo, a device that's used in connection with the sale of goods or services. And most often when we're talking about creative or collectible, non-fungible tokens, we're talking about the copyright aspects of that. And when we focus more specifically on the different types of rights, it's actually a bundle of rights that makes up copyright: the right to copy, the right to distribute copies of the work, the right to create adaptations of the work. So if you write, talking in 20th century parlance, if you write a book and then you sell the rights to create a screenplay, that screenplay derives from the original. So that's an adaptation or a derivative work. Or the right to publicly display the work, which is very important in the NFT space. And also the right to publicly perform if it's capable of being performed. I work with a number of people who are performance artists as well. Perhaps they're musicians or something to that effect. So those rights are the bundle of rights that is copyright. And then to get to your original question, what does someone purchase when they purchase an NFT? They purchase the ability to exert ownership and control of some other thing, some file, usually in the digital space, but I also know that there are NFT artists and collectible creators who are also creating access to experiences or even to physical art. But the actual token is, you might liken it to a deed to a home. The deed is not the home, but it is my ability to exercise ownership and control over the home. The home can burn down. And we can talk about later what happens if a file is not on IPFS and all of a sudden it disappears. I may still own the token, but I no longer have access to the other thing. What rights as the holder of the token can I exercise over that? Maybe there's insurance that I could collect as a result. So it's the exercise of ownership and control. It is not the thing that we often talk about in terms of the creative or the collectible that is associated with an NFT.
It's really interesting because it calls to mind whether or not when someone does own an NFT, is there true ownership, and whether or not the digital signification actually does demonstrate that ownership is one of those things that I think is a little bit vague. And I know that when it comes to that understanding, I know that Harsch, you have some thoughts about what the risks are when it comes to purchasing NFTs as a creator of something called a responsibly minted NFT. I'm fascinated to hear what that means.
Well, I mean, what our interpretation of responsibly minted is, we find that people in the space, especially as NFTs have ballooned from zero, are enamored with the ability to own something on the blockchain that they have an affinity to, an image or a video clip of Kobe dunking. But no one's really asking the questions, who created it, who owns it, is it original? And when you talk about risks, I see really three main classes of risks when purchasing an NFT. The first is authenticity risk, then there's copyright risk, and then there's redeemability risk. So let's talk about authenticity risk. When you're buying an NFT, you are hoping to buy an NFT that this particular artist has minted. And the very nature of NFTs, if it's a static image, for example, you can just go right-click, save it, someone else can mint it. So let's just say you're buying an NFT from BK the artist. Within minutes, someone else can lift the image, mint it as BK the artiste, and you're buying it from someone else, a fake. And so it's really important to check the authorized smart contract that the person or brand or celebrity that you're intending to purchase from, you're actually buying an NFT minted by that smart contract. Then there's copyright risk. And whether maliciously or inadvertently, the group that you're buying an NFT from may have may not have secured the proper rights to the underlying creative work. A recent package of proof we did, it was for a company that wanted to mint the NFT, and they outsourced the artistic work to an artist in Eastern Europe. When we looked into the law in that country, you cannot assign creative rights indefinitely. The maximum you can get is a 10-year license. So that appeared on our package of proof. But without the work that we put into it, no one would know that the proper copyright wasn't checked off, or in fact, if you purchase it, you only have a 10-year right to that work. And the third class actually extends on something Professor Evans was talking about, is the shift towards adding utility to NFTs. So there's a lot of redeemable content now. Like, for example, you might buy an NFT that also gives you a signed T-shirt, VIP access at concerts, downloadable content. And some of those items are one-time redeemable. If you get the T-shirt, for example, some convey. Maybe you get, whoever holds the NFT gets VIP treatment at a concert. It's really important because it affects the value to know what content is redeemable and what has been redeemed. And that sort of transparency isn't commonplace yet in the NFT space. It's something for people to be aware of. And those three risks in particular, the authenticity, the copyright, and the redeemable risks, are things that, at UREEQA we're cognizant of, and we've built into the system to proactively take care of. But like we said earlier, we're all pushing the boundaries and we're all learning as we go along. The best we could do is look ahead and see what issues could come up and try to deal with it in a proactive manner.
That's actually really helpful, and it calls to question, for me at least, and maybe Guy, you have an opinion about this. Do you think that the minting platform, the NFT minting platform, has an effect on whether or not the rights themselves are provided?
Yeah, it goes here because first of all, when you mint your NFT token through some kind of NFT marketplace, through NFT platform, you agree with their terms because you use their smart contract, and this definite smart contract has provided with several rights, right to use or your right to display or to perform, and you need to carefully check what you're signing for, what you're doing, because as soon as you agree to their terms, you will issue NFT according to their terms. And for example, if you expect, for example, to provide ownership for underlying artwork for this NFT, but this platform will grant on the license, you will provide on the license to collectors. So here you need first to understand what you're doing and to be careful and carefully check their terms. And for sure, and marketplaces influence on scope of rights you provide to collectors. So here, because you're working under their smart contract. And for example, if you would like to provide not only some rights to use, to perform, to display of artwork, but you would like to provide some more utility, as Harsch said, for example, there is fan tokens currently popular among some sport teams, sport players, and for example, to participate in some VIP events, special events, to attend some promo events, for example, and you would like to provide your collectors of your NFTs with additional rights, with additional utility features you will not be able to do if such platform does not support it.
One of the things that I find to be very frustrating about this NFT era, and I'm wondering if any of you have an opinion about this, is that there seems to be a very deep lack of customer service. And while most businesses today don't have effective customer service, things like what is happening with this class action lawsuit against Dapper Labs currently about their halting trading of NFTs compels me to think, well, if there was just some opportunity to speak with these customers, perhaps that would have been averted. Do you think that the future of NFTs, and I welcome this for anyone to answer, is going to include a higher degree of customer service?
I think that first it customer service, and the second component should be educating your users, educating your customers, because everyone should, even both creators and collectors, sellers and buyers, should understand what they're dealing with. That they should not have too big expectation from NFTs, from all this NFT stuff, because as soon as they have big expectations, they will have big disappointment after if happens something that they are not expected. So first of all, yeah, we need NFT marketplaces, NFT minting platforms should provide more information to the users and play terms, not only on attractiveness of NFT tokens through perspective on investments or art object, but also from perspective of licenses, from the perspective of ownership, and the perspective of possibility to display it, possibility to collect, and all this related stuff. And for sure, customer support should be able to at least to answer necessary questions regarding not only marketing stuff, but also at least some simple legal stuff.
Yeah, and I think go ahead.
Quickly, because as Ira was asking the question in my mind, I was like, I wonder what Harsch thinks about this. And I know that you spent a lot of time in this space. I think the entire crypto space is a customer service issue. Within the ecosystem, there are over 10,000 different types of cryptographically secured assets. And I think more broadly from cryptocurrencies to crypto assets, we're talking about NFTs, and that's a prime example of that. But even within the ecosystem, when I think about all the different minting platforms, some are the new gatekeeper. So on one hand, we were very excited about the space of decentralizing, disintermediating the space, removing those gatekeepers that would keep those out of participating in the process. But we have new gatekeepers. We have new gatekeepers, we think of and I am agnostic about the platforms from a legal perspective, to be sure. But there's some who are permission. You have the super rares of the world versus the open seas. And you also have the different rights and obligations that was mentioned earlier about terms of service as you look across the umpteen platforms that are here now. I think it's a race to get this right, specifically as a customer service issue on both sides of the equation, from the perspective of the creatives and also from collectors. So, and when I think about collectors and what their expectations are, it goes to your original question, Ira, of what you get when you purchase. There's a lot of misinformation about the space because the initial race was getting up the minting platforms and supporting artists. And I love artists. I have a little creativity in myself as well to make sure that they have the proper format to create, to signal auctions, and whether once you mint something, does it automatically get offered or can you hold it back? How can you use smart contracts not only to pay the artist, but maybe there are others if you want to split royalties, not only for that primary sale, but for downstream revenues, which is really important. And then if you have secondary market sales, must you have siloed sales on a particular platform? Or is that going to be, if I sell on one platform and then there's a secondary market sale on another platform, will my original agreement be honored if I'm the creator? Right. So there are a lot of things we're talking about and a lot of new standards, particularly in the Ethereum space. And I just think that it's a race to really get this right. So I'm actually quite encouraged by the pressure that we are seeing both on the creative side and on the collector side to innovate in this space pretty rapidly. I'd be interested to see if we get together a year from now and see where we are.
Yeah, it's a good point it's a good point regarding secondary market because nobody, not many even creators know about what they will do and their NFT will go to secondary market, will they get royalty or not, how they will protect their rights to get royalties if it will go outside the platform. Yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah, I think the need for customer service is here, and it's only going to get more intense over time because we're talking about redeemable content. So when NFTs started, I would say it was pretty much 100% speculative value. And as we mature, and I'm talking specifically about creative work, back NFTs. As we mature, I could see it getting to the point. It might take years, where it's 10% speculative value and 90% quantifiable value. And what I mean by that is, if I get a signed T-shirt, I get VIP treatment at a concert, I get a Zoom experience, I could say, that's worth $2,000 to me, but I'll pay $2,500 because there's this cool collectible image or video clip as well. And as we bundle more things, there's going to be more need for customer service. So that's one element. The second is that as NFTs expand beyond the crypto enthusiasts, and I would say at least 70-80% of the population in North America now is at least NFT curious. And more people are going to end up using fiat on-ramps to own their first NFT. And it might be on a platform, not on their address yet. They might claim it after a while. But that's like the gateway drug, like how people get into Bitcoin and then end up in altcoins. You buy with fiat, you end up holding it on platform, and eventually you figure out and pull it off. And so we're going to have a lot more non-crypto savvy folks come into the NFT space, and they will naturally need more customer service. And so we're living in a space where everything that's decentralized is good and everything that's centralized is bad. But what's happening is we're adding more real world centralized type utility and bringing on more real world people who focus on centralized applications into this space. And there's going to be, and we're feeling it already, a deficiency in the customer service aspect.
It's interesting that companies that are coming to market are in many ways presenting their complicated, very creative uses of these assets in decentralized financing strategies. And even our sponsors who provide such an incredible service to people that really understand the marketplace, in order to bring in the larger population, there almost needs to be a, let's break this down to simplification. Let's make sure that we can bring in people that are curious, that would like to spend $100, $300 and just see where it goes. And it is a really important facet to this industry that I really do hope that as leaders in this space that we'll all be able to herald. Is there anything that, from the point of view of what you're seeing trend-wise, Tonya, that you think beyond, say, customer service, you think we should be focusing on in order to make sure that we can bring aboard a broader population of people into this space?
It's a great question, because I feel like there are so many parallel tracks in the moment. There's just not a singular innovative move forward. There are a lot of things happening simultaneously, and it will take some time to flesh out. So on one hand, we have NBA Top Shots that is leveraging their existing intellectual property to create the digital fan experience, but that is, a copyright intensive industry leveraging their existing intellectual property. And then you have someone like a Renee Montgomery on the WNBA side that decided to mint her own series of NFTs, for example. And it's not going to be an either or, but a both and. I find it this is a fun fact about me. I'm a former professional tennis player. I played on scholarship at Northwestern. I played for 4 years on the tour, but I was always grinding it out every year. Like, my notable moment was playing in the qualies of the US Open in '93. Every other experience was grinding it out, trying to make it to the big leagues. But a technology like this actually can really empower those who are not necessarily in the top 10, but can create community, because at its essence, crypto is about community. Crypto Twitter, off the chain. If you can get the groundswell for a project, and we've seen that in the cryptocurrency space, for those who are most successful in the NFT space, they do that as well. And so I look at it as a moment of empowerment for those traditionally not participating, certainly in finance, but now in art and collectibles. And that's where I think we should be spending a lot of time focusing on, in what ways can this technology be leveraged as a tool of empowerment.
Do you think that's where DeFi really comes in to provide the added support, that if you buy an NFT and you're concerned about its liquidity after you purchase it, that the DeFi mechanisms which enable you to essentially, what is in the usual securities world, hypothecate that instrument, that asset, is what's going to change how we can actually get to a place where buying an NFT isn't about buying something that is so small that doesn't have liquidity thereafter?
I feel like the collectible and the creative space is almost the use case that, we had the technology that in search of that killer app, quote unquote. We were talking for years about what the killer app is, what's going to get the mass adoption, what brings people who are not on the fringes of crypto to actually take a chance and say, I need to figure this out because that is so valuable to me that I need to figure it out. And so I feel like the art and the collectible side of it is the way, but and Guy, Harsch, I know you know this as well, non-fungible tokens are going to be used in so many other areas. It's really, we're unlocking this space as a matter of decentralized finance, where you don't have to come, with a credit score and all of your paper. Either you have the asset or you don't. you put up the asset and it unlocks so many things that folks traditionally have not had access to. So I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, for me in particular, an example I often give is, imagine you're the author of a book and it isn't published yet, but you can't go to a bank and say, hey, I own this book rights, let me $5,000. But you can go and have it validated and have a master validated NFT minted and drop it in a smart contract and borrow stable coins against it. And if you don't pay, the smart contract conveys title. And these sort of IP collateralization and monetization type opportunities are really exciting and will come as we mature in this space.
Yeah, basically it's like first stage is like we bring real world to decentralized sphere and we try and just to adapt it. And like, like Bitcoin, first everybody think over like just all this blockchain is connected to cryptocurrency, but let's look at Ethereum. It's have smart contracts, it have crypto asset currencies, tokens, NFTs, fan tokens, and it can happen like broad understanding on NFTs afterwards. So currently we just link it to some artworks, but for sure it can be like the same thing as iTunes for decentralized world. It can just represent your right to listen some music, to store it anywhere, like on some place. So I think that it's a first stage, and it will definitely will develop in some for sure interesting way, but just and even we can face, for example, do you remember it was like crypto anarchism for 2017 when like it was no centralized governments, we just will decide in our crypto community for our own. So we can face in NFTs, for example, all this NFT anarchism, but anyway it will go regulated afterwards.
Actually having witnessed the creation of CryptoKitties and CryptoPunks and the value that those now are providing to the use case of NFTs, if I were owner of one of those, I'd be sitting pretty. When I look at what the future is of NFTs, I wonder whether or not the legal structure that we are currently operating in is going to allow for the fantasy, the incredible vision of what I think this is all about that the law firm Reed Smith put out about the metaverse, allowing for me to take that cryptocurrency, that CryptoKitty or that CryptoPunk, and go from where I own it and take it into Grand Theft Auto or take it into Minecraft. Is the legal framework going to allow us to be able to do this, or are we going to be held back by people saying, I own that in this world and I can't take that into this world because I need to be collecting money in each different universe?
Well, look, it's a really important question that intellectual property lawyers like myself are spending a lot of time on. The existing laws are what they are. The technology is not developing in a vacuum, and intellectual property laws apply, and they're going to be different depending upon the jurisdiction that you're in. The limitations of the jurisdictional constraints are going to be challenging to a decentralized protocol that spans the globe. We certainly have international treaties and conventions. Digital technology in and of itself is not new, and there have been a lot of treaties and conventions that deal with what happens when you have a copyright owner in the United States and someone else in France, and they have a disagreement. We have some rules that are already applied to that space, but that doesn't make it easy for the individuals who are engaging in that. It gets back to, I think, something that Guy said earlier when you're thinking about terms and conditions of use for various platforms. You need to pay attention to what those say, because regardless of where you are, when you mint on a particular platform, that platform is going to tell you what area or body of law, what jurisdiction is going to apply if there is a dispute. They're going to tell you, are we going to rely on arbitration? Will that be binding arbitration? Are you going to go into the court of law? And if so, in what jurisdiction? And so this is where copyright comes in full swing with contract law that is very jurisdiction specific, and that's going to take some time to actually flesh out. The devil's in the details of the terms and conditions of use that are read in conjunction with the applicable copyright laws in a particular jurisdiction.
I'm reminded of something Ira said earlier regarding the SEC. And, if your heart's in the right place and you've taken steps proactively to be a good actor, chances are you'll be on the right side. And where the so-called experts, and even we say, we don't know, it hasn't played out yet. But, from our perspective, I think if you proactively convey and make it very transparent what the NFT utility or what NFT terms are, and you hash it on chain, it's included with the NFT, at least you've gone a step further than 99% of the NFTs. Is it going to be enough? We don't know. It hasn't been tested. But the key is to be proactive, be a good actor, do as much upfront as you can to keep the people who buy this safe.
Yeah, so whereas metaverses will just create maybe new practice. First, we have, for example, separate jurisdiction, different norms, but we'll have some general principles. So, and based on these general principles, I think that at least community business will start to create in some practice. And afterwards, we will just see how it will go for some specific jurisdictions but general stuff, like some general principle, at least we can harmonize and combine from one platform to the other platform. And afterward, it will be just some truly specifics for just specific places of incorporation and jurisdictions.
Well, look, I mean, we're in an era where I think that advancing the ball on this transformation of currency is something that is important for us to go through. It's potentially painful, and there may be situations where we may be critical, but I'm reminded of when Michael Jordan was accosted for having gambled $100,000 a hole on golf, and thinking to myself, well, that's $5 relative to us. And if everyone were in a position to go through the experiment of putting roughly $5 to $10 to $100 into something to see what this is about and experience the learning of it, we could potentially go through this education process and come out the other end with something that allows a broader population of people to benefit from a real investment opportunity. And so I'm really grateful for you guys to be providing the guidance that we all do need. And of course, no one has all the answers. At the same time, having people like the three of you to give us some guidance in order to be able to approach this appropriately is just wonderful. If there's anything at all in closing that you guys would like to share and how we can get in touch with you guys, I'd surely like to be able to share with our audience an opportunity to reach out to you if that's something you'd be interested in.
Well, I'm definitely very active in the Twitterverse. It's not the metaverse, but it's the Twitterverse. Crypto Twitter is amazing. So definitely you can certainly follow me at IPProf Evans. You see it on the screen. And I've also developed a series of online courses if you're interested in onboarding safely, legally, and confidently into the crypto space. Go to fromcashtocrypto.com. And I work specifically to educate both collectors and creatives in the space on the intellectual property component of the NFT space. That's nftlawguide.com. nftlawguide.com will get you up and out, compliant, and on your way to creating a new source of generational wealth in the creative space.
Thank you.
And if you're, from our perspective, if you're a creator of creative works and you want to protect, manage, and monetize it, please go check us out, UREEQA.com, on Telegram at UREEQA. If you're an established artist, a celebrity or brand looking to responsibly mint collectibles backed by a fully validated NFT and a package of proof that can keep your buyers safe, again, you can go on UREEQA.com, at UREEQA on Telegram, and my Twitter handle is at UREEQA_CEO.
So regarding me, you can reach me on Telegram. You can reach me from my website, Maevsky.legal. So we're just trying to help businesses do things right and like to structure business right, just to avoid unnecessary complication afterwards.
Thank you all. I would just like to part with an appreciation for DeFi Summit for providing us this platform to get some learning going. And I'd like to encourage the public to continue to experiment at whatever thresholds they're comfortable with. And if you're going to be on the other side of the equation, which is to say you're actually putting out an NFT or a token, please, please, please make sure you reach out to experts like Tonya, like Guy, like Harsch. It's really important to make sure that you do the best that you can to prepare for what could be who knows what, because it's crazy out there. At the same time, it's exciting, and I think it could really transform humanity. And in concert, we will actually have a fantastic journey together. Thank you.